As Obi-Wan Kenobi once said, hello there, and welcome to ForceCenter Presents Figure Fights, the show where we ask which Star Wars character would win in a fight, but not the actual character, a very specific action figure of that character. I'm Joseph Scrimshaw.
And I'm Ken Knapsack.
And I'm Jennifer Landa.
Oh, and I'm very excited to share the figures. Ken gets a little preview because he puts together these great graphics, but Jennifer gets to be surprised by the figures. I really hope surprised with delight.
Yes.
I like good surprises, not bad surprises. So with that in mind, let's get into this. Our matchup today is Razor Crest Grogu versus Big Stormtrooper George Lucas.
No. What?
Yep.
There he is.
That's real?
That is real. That is very, very real. There's more than one Stormtrooper George Lucas. That's the big one. We will talk about it. This one's extra brutal. I felt like just a piece of bleep putting this one together because these are two sympathetic characters, but what am I going to do? They have to fight. It's not my fault. It's not my fault. We love to talk about our feelings about these figures, our history with these figures. So, Ken, I'd like to start with you. Do you happen to own a Razor Crest Grogu? This is the Grogu that came with the HasLab pay, I believe, around $400 for the Razor Crest. And then you got the ship, this Grogu, several other things. It's a very specific Grogu. Ken, do you own this Grogu?
I do not own it. I did not invest in that project. Maybe someone here did. But I looking at this packaging right here. And yes, this photo is funny. It's a little bent, so it looks like it's been shipped to you. I do want it. I'm a sucker for Porg merchandise, and I think I've become a sucker for Grogu merchandise. I didn't realize it. It crept up on me.
There's a lot of Grogu out there, and you just think, I'll just get one more Grogu. It'll be fine. Oh, I have 7 Grogu within my eye line on my couch. Oh, okay. Yeah. These things happen. Jennifer, how about you? Do you want this Grogu? Did you know about this Grogu? Were you tempted by the Razor Crest? What's your history?
I mean, of course, I was tempted by the Razor Crest. I did not invest in the Razor Crest. And the reason why is because it'd be destroyed by my family along with that adorable Grogu, which would immediately get ripped out of the package and somehow gotten lost in our house. That's what would happen to it. But it's so adorable with the little ball.
Mm-hmm. We know when you say destroyed by your family, we know you mean your daughters. We know that. But I also have this vision of your husband on the roof trying to see if the Razor Crest could fly.
It's very funny. Your husband is a very handsome, very calm seeming man. So the idea of him like slowly walking into the living room and just being like, "Rah!" is very funny.
Oh, yes. As you guys have seen, things fly off the shelves. Anything is possible in our household.
It can happen. It can happen. I did end up backing the Razor Crest. It will always be a fun and delightful story for me that it was in the throes of season 2 of The Mandalorian, and I was enjoying the show so much. It was a balm. It was what I needed. I was having so much fun discussing it on ForceCenter. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to splurge. And then I think it was like the next week, bam, they blow apart the Razor Crest.
That's right.
Yeah. So I got the Razor Crest. I haven't put it out yet because there isn't room in my home for the Razor Crest. I did not realize how big it was going to be. And then there was a photo eventually of Jon Favreau holding it. And I was like, what? That's coming to my home? No, that can't. What? No. This guy. The Razor Crest Grogu is delightful. And I think if you just want the figure, you can probably find it on eBay or whatever. But I'm excited to have that Grogu. It's really funny to have the different Grogus because they are all sculpted with slightly different expressions. And we'll get to talk about this one.
That little face.
That little face. There's a lot of ways to interpret the emotion, which I look forward to doing.
A lot going on there.
Jennifer looks shocked. All right. So we've talked about Grogu. Now let's talk about our history and our feelings with Big George Lucas in Stormtrooper disguise. I say big because he is Black Series. Jennifer, let's start with you. You didn't know this was a thing. Tell me about that.
I did not know that this was a thing. I thought maybe it was like a fan thing. Someone had done it. I I need this figure. Now that I know that it exists, did George Lucas approve? I mean, he obviously had to approve of this. I mean, right? Like, it's his likeness.
Imagine it was part of the sale. Iger said, and we get your likeness for any figures ever. All right.
I mean, technically, you were Baron Papanoida, so we own your face now. You sold us your face, George Lucas.
Yeah, like, how did they do the sculpt? I just picture somebody like staring at George Lucas's face. Did he give like a mold? Like, what did he stand and get like photographed? What had happened here? I want to know the backstory on this figure.
Great sculpt. That sculpt of the hair alone.
Yeah, right. I mean, the hair is a work of art.
It's
beautiful.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and there was, Jennifer, a smaller 3 3/4 one when Lucas still owned the company. So one of George Lucas in Stormtrooper disguise. So one would assume that he was like, this is a fun thing to make. So I would hope that he's okay. It's like, it's okay if it's 3 3/4 inch. I don't want 6 inch of me. No, I don't want a 6 inch of me. Ken, do you own this action figure? Do you want to?
I do not own this. I kind of want it only because there's something again wonderful about the sculpt and George. That's George Lucas, but he's a stormtrooper. The thing he's trying to take down, the thing he's making this whole story we must fight these type of fascists out there. And then you're like, cool, but George, what do you think of you being one? And it's just a weird, wonderful juxtaposition that I want to celebrate in a weird way.
It is. It's like the action figure versions of like some of the pictures of him at like Disneyland or parades or whatever. And he's just standing there in his flannel shirt and he's flanked by Vader and stormtroopers.
Yes.
Yeah. So I didn't think I wanted this figure. It was released and I was like, I want to get the 3 3/4 one eventually. That's cool. And I had the thoughts that you had, Ken, of like, you know what? There should be a Jedi George Lucas. Then I'll snap that up. And then I went to my local record store, Amoeba, and it was hanging there. And when I saw it with my eyes, I was just like, I have to have it. Yep.
Wow.
So I grabbed it off the shelves. It was the night before I was going to shoot a short film. And I feel like, this is fate. This is the Force showing me the picture of this director before I go do some directing. So it's on my desk. My eye line is looking over there, staring at George Lucas in big stormtrooper disguise.
That's amazing.
Amazing.
All right, we got a little bit into the feelings, but there are plenty of facts to share. We get these stats from the great website, galacticfigures.com. Let's look at Razor Crest Grogu's stats. He is technically a part of the vintage collection. The scale of the line is 3.75. That is not his actual height. Released in 2022, bursting with a joint count of 3. 1 ball-jointed neck, 2 ball-jointed shoulders, and that's it. Accessory details: 1 pram with 1 removable top, 1 removable plastic blanket, 1 bowl, 1 display stand. Fun fact, the bowl is so small, I didn't understand what it was until I read this on galacticfigures.com.
Wow.
It's so teeny tiny. And it does come with the fancy high-tech pram. Galacticfigures.com also offers an analysis of Razor Crest Grogu. Here is their analysis. The Grogu figure was released single-carded, packed in together with the Razor Crest vehicle in early February 2022. This Grogu figure has a unique head sculpt. Yeah, he does. And a new left arm, which holds the round control knob. The knob is not removable from Grogu's hand.
It's there.
Oh, dear.
Tiny Grogu stands very well on display without falling over. The body is 1 piece of plastic. Oh, tiny Grogu standing well. It's so beautiful.
Love that.
We'll move on to Big George Lucas Stormtrooper stats. He is from the Star Wars The Black Series line, of course. Scale 6 inches, released 2022. Joint count 19.
Wow.
That's like a midi-chlorian count. That is off the scale. That is more than Master Yoda. Here we go. 1 ball-jointed top neck, 1 ball-jointed lower neck, 2 butterfly joints in the shoulders, 2 ball-jointed shoulders, 2 ball-jointed elbows, 2 ball-jointed wrists, 1 ball-jointed upper body, 2 ball-jointed hips, 2 swivel thighs, 2 ball-jointed knees, 2 ball-jointed ankles. Accessory details: 1 blaster, 1 removable stormtrooper helmet. So many ball joints.
so many. I had to make the editorial decision to cut off the list at some point. I just couldn't do it.
Too many ball joints for a YouTube graphic. That's what we're dealing with big George Lucas. Here's the analysis of the figure from galacticfigures.com. The figure pays homage to the maker, George Lucas, in the Kenner-style toy packaging from the 1970s. This is the second time that Hasbro has made George Lucas as a Stormtrooper. The first one was released in 2007 in the 3 3/4 inch scale. The weapon fits well into both hands, and the helmet fits tightly over the head. There is no original trilogy holster on the figure's belt where the blaster could be stored in, which would technically place this figure somewhere in the Rogue One timeline. This George Lucas action figure stands well on display without falling over. A tip of the mimed hat to galacticfigures.com for just nailing down the place in the timeline that this action figure could be from.
Wow.
That's beautiful. That's some work.
Yeah, absolutely wonderful work. So now we've talked about our feelings a little bit. We know some of the facts. Let's figure fight. We're going to take into account their size, their outfits, their accessories. Ken, who do you feel wins this fight? How does it even begin? What happens?
I mean, it's so hard. Yeah, I'm not. I can't root against George. I can't root against Grogu. But these action figures, I'm going straight to the face here on Grogu. You said there's different ways to read that face. So I look at it as pure joy that he's about to throw that knob straight into your face, like right between the George Lucas eyes there, right in the center. That's where I think he's going right from the start. And that's a David and Goliath thing right from the start. He's flinging that rock and hitting you in the side of the head or right square in the center. So I start there. But we know George the man, George the creator, might have some issues at times with Disney Star Wars, we know, but he's got a soft spot, I think, for Grogu. So can he, as a figure, bring the killer instinct to this match? I question that.
Ooh, you question the motivation of the figure, what lies in the heart of this figure, of this person who created a saga about peace and connection and family, dressed as a fascist stormtrooper. What is in this action figure's heart? We're going deep right away. Jennifer, do you have initial thoughts?
The key is there are in the faces, because I see Grogu's face and I see mischief. I see that he's kind of crazed. He's a little wild, right? He's like a wild child. And then I look at George's face and he looks like a concerned father, a father figure. And I don't know if he has it in him. Yeah, he's got the armor, but he looks like, kid, what are you doing? Let's have a chat. Come on over here. I know you got some big feelings. Let's talk about how we can harness that. Let's talk about how we can deal with that. And so I think Grogu is gonna do everything he can to just attack George, and George is not gonna fight back.
Jen brings up a great point here. He looks like one of those dads in the 501st in our real world that dresses up as a stormtrooper on the weekends for great charity work, but is a really loving, doting father and Star Wars fan. You really captured what's been tweaking my brain about this shot.
Yeah.
I really agree. I think that this is not necessarily an action figure from a galaxy far, far away. Instead, this is an action figure of someone who looks a lot like George Lucas cosplaying a stormtrooper at Star Wars Celebration.
There was a cosplayer at Star Wars Celebration dressed as George Lucas who looked just like him.
This is the guy that's getting the hot dogs in the cafeteria at Celebration, and you're like, "Hey, nice outfit." He's like, "Oh, thanks."
Yeah. I mean, I think you're both spot on with your analysis of Grogu and big stormtrooper George Lucas. Ken, if you can put Grogu back up there again, and his amazing face, I think that face, it definitely could be interpreted as joy. I think that's the intent of the sculpt. He's got the control knob. That's everything he wants. He's happy. But the way this beautiful photo is taken, also found on galacticfigures.com, that is a face of murder.
It is.
Those big eyes. That is a face that's saying, I got 3 joints, but I only need one. The shoulder that controls the knob. Wham, 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 right? He's all about bringing down the knob hammer.
Jen, have you, as a parent of two wonderful children, have you seen this look as they're about to throw one of your high-priced collectibles on the floor?
All the time. And when they're about to fling it at each other. That's what I know, that look. And then when you try and say, hey, come over here, they hide under the table and they try and get away from you.
Yeah. It's the whites of the eyes, right? It's like he's reared back so much that, like, look at that. I mean, maybe it's just the light because he's got the full black pupils, but maybe it's the light of this photo, but it looks like he's opening his eyes wide enough. Yeah. Absolutely amazing.
Talked about the pram. The pram that could be used as a weapon. You stick Grogu in there, and it doesn't have wheels on it, which that would take it to the next level. But like, you just kind of, shoot it across the floor. George could go down very easily.
I think that's how the fight could even begin. Of nice cosplaying George Lucas is just snapping photos outside of the convention center, and this pram comes out of nowhere, wham, and then Grogu cracks open, and Grogu comes flying out, hammer in midair, and just starts raining blows on that beautiful hairdo, right?
Yes.
I love that. I don't know this. I forget the status of the pram in real life. I know it's gone through some damage, right? In real life, I mean the show, which is fantasy. But I in my mind, I want Grogu at one point to get a little older and learn to control it, not with force or with controls, and use the pram as this kind of pill capsule of ramming doom. Just boom, 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 boom.
Oh yeah,
that's Jen said.
The little blasters come out. Little missiles. Yeah, absolutely amazing. I think what this George Lucas action figure does have going for him with all of his joints is he can bend down on one knee to try to have a talk with Grogu, right? He can get totally in that mentor position, that energy you're both talking about. He can put that into physical form. He can have the helmet at the side, bend down on one knee and go, hey, kid, do we need to do this?
Yeah, you're so right. You're capturing the look. This is a great figure. This is a great sculpt. That is the look on that figure's face. Like, come on now. I got my helmet off. We don't need to fight.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Does it work? Can George Lucas in Stormtrooper disguise diffuse the Razor Crest Grogu rage?
I mean, this is a kid that's stealing cookies from kids in school. He's eating eggs and frogs. He's a terror. No. Only when you're fighting that he's slowly sipping soup and just wondering, is this all you got? Is this all you got? So I think George has got some good intentions to be like the figure saying the whole point of my namesake's design for the series was to preach peace in a time of war, to find it, to seek those kind of solutions. Grogu doesn't care about that, at least in this image.
No. I think everything becomes a weapon to Grogu. He's got the control knob in his little hand. He's got the bowl. He can attack with the pram. He can throw the bowl. Everything is a weapon, right? Jennifer, does George Lucas have anything to defend himself with? Is he willing to defend himself?
I don't think he is. And I think he falls into a parenting trap where you think that you can rationalize with a crazed child. And when they're wild, hopped up on sugar, sleep deprived, right? You can't reason with them. And your biggest mistake is if you try and, let's try and, no. You got to meet them with the same type of force, right? Not like physical force, but you got to meet them with the same energy. That's what they say. That's what the parody books meet them with the same like energy, whether it's playfulness or perhaps in this case, I don't know what. Like, I just think, Grogu is a terror.
So if Grogu's
going to take,
if Grogu's basically like throwing a tantrum in Big George Lucas is in the way, does Big George Lucas just start throwing a tantrum of his own, like to match Razor Crest Grogu's energy, using all those ball joints to just stomp, throw his blaster on the ground?
Yeah, go ahead, Jen. Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I draw upon that fake video that goes around every now and then where George getting mad at a writer from the Clone Wars for mentioning Mara Jade, right? Which was a goof, but over the years, some people take that as an actual incident. And that kind of George Lucas anger that he's able to flash there, that's all for humor in the video, but that's the kind of what I see this figure tapping into there. So that's what he'd have to try to throw back at Grogu.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I want to find ways for George to be victorious. Even his own blaster is a liability because I think Grogu takes it from him. Grogu can't pick it up because it won't fit in his hand, but he can jump up and down on it. That's what I'm really learning on figure fights from Jennifer, that which figure can jump up and down on things better is often the victor.
Yes, absolutely. I think his best thing is just to walk away, which, you know, we're supposed to have these characters fighting, these action figures fighting, but I really think in real life, you just got to walk away. Let the kid just have it out. Walk
away or run away. See if you can try to get away from Razor Crest Grogu. Can you escape? With all those joints, can you walk away? Any of those joints are going to help George. I mean, all he can really do, he's got a ball jointed top neck and a ball jointed lower neck. He can look behind himself in panic as he runs. That's what he can do with all those joints. Any other features of either character that you want to highlight? Or are you both ready to go into declaring a victor for your team?
I'm just analyzing the packaging. Is there anything we're leaving on the table? And you know, I don't know. It does come down to that evil grin in Grogu's eyes. I think you're so right. Just as painting this picture of that little Grogu shuffling along like he's running from the fighters, but this time he's chasing George. And all 19 joints, the most we've had on figure fights thus far. Yeah. I'm sure more will come, but 19 joints ain't gonna help you when Grogu's chasing you.
Nope. Yeah, I am. Yeah. Jennifer, do you have a different outcome?
I believe George is going down. I really do. And I think it's the joints, again, as we've seen sometimes before. I think Grogu gets in his pram. He rams into George. And I have an example here, here. It's the ankles. It all comes down to the ankles. And that's it. George is toast.
Yeah, I want this to go differently, but I think when it comes to a physical fight, there's just too much passion, too much furies, too much toddler energy coming off of Grogu. I think this is an opportunity for this George Lucas action figure to test the strength of Stormtrooper armor, which isn't that good. I think he takes a beating from the pram, from the bowl, from the knob. And then I think what really finishes Big George Lucas off is he actually does try to protect his hair and his face, putting on the Stormtrooper helmet, which all the reviews say looks great, but is too tight. And I think George Lucas suffocates himself with his own too tight Stormtrooper helmet. Another great metaphor for not falling for the dark side. And poor George Lucas falls over. Ankles bent.
It screams out, follow my lead. Look at the lesson. Don't be like me.
He yells limited power. Yep. Gets it all across. So there you go. Another clean sweep. We'll see how rare or not that is. But today, our victor in combat is Razor Crest Grogu. Fireworks. Emotionally, a good win for big George Lucas in Stormtrooper disguise. Jennifer, you gave some great parenting tips, but what else did we learn here today on figure fights? What is the moral? Match the child's energy.
I just want to say, George Lucas, I love you. Thank you for everything that you've given us. I'm sorry that your action figure was not victorious, but I will be purchasing this on eBay later today. That is what I've learned. Oh, thank the maker.
A true victory. The moral is you can find these on eBay. Ken, do you have a moral?
The moral of the story is once that little creature gets that grin, that look, that energy in its face, you're done for. You just have to outlast it. And maybe if you're lucky, you'll end up holding it and someone will take a blurry photo of you trying to hold on.
A beautiful, beautiful moral. 2 morals for the price of 1. That is Figure Fights. Feel free to let us know in the comments who you think might win this imaginary battle, with what accessory, why, with what emotion in their heart. Let us know. We find that fun because, as Luke Skywalker once said, well, no one was really listening to him. I care. That's it for Figure Fights.
Thanks for watching ForceCenter. To follow us on Twitter, reach out at ForceCenter Pod. We're on Hive Social at ForceCenter. On Instagram, we are at ForceCenter Pod. Our Facebook page is ForceCenter Podcast. The podcast is available in a lot of different spots like Acast, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and more. Just search, you'll find us. Want ForceCenter merch? Go to tpublic.com/user/ForceCenter. Want to support us directly? You can at patreon.com/ForceCenter. For social links for the hosts and guests of ForceCenter, check the links in the description below. That's it for now. We'll see you next time here on ForceCenter.